what we're going to focus on is new evidence developments. How Brian Laundrie's parents failed to show up to court. How Brian Laundrie left a huge notebook. You can see it in the thumbnail of the video, a handwritten notebook of what happened. And I mean, he says in this notebook that he ended her life. Now, we're going to get into the obfuscation. I have a problem saying that word, but you guys know what I mean. He's trying to, like, distance himself from the killing and, not blame himself for just being a murderer. Obfuscation. That's the best I'm going to get. But you guys know the meaning of the word. I know the meaning of the word. I just can't pronounce it very well. But I do hope everybody here is doing well. And we'll go through this update. And then if time, I'll see if I can get to one more story. It is late. I did fall asleep earlier after my last stream, so I am up now, but after the stream I do gotta go to bed for a couple hours and then get up for work at like 5:30, so no biggie. We'll all be good. What's up, Del Griffith? I've been working and I had the show in the background. It was good to see everybody. Happy birthday, Davey, and God bless everybody. Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, my birthday just passed. Very appreciative of everybody that sent me some birthday wishes, and a couple people sent in some birthday donations. That was really cool of them. They didn't have to do that. That was awesome. Andy's Random Edits, a lot of people that I hadn't talked to or seen in the chat. They watch, but they don't chat. Sent a donation in, which was really cool of them. So I'm going to start with a clip from Brian Enton. Now, Brian Enton worked this case from beginning to end. He knows everything about it, so I thought it was only right to give him the first crack at just easing our way into what the story is about. That's a very long video. I was looking for something in the 5-minute range, but that's okay. We can get the idea. Petito lawyer. Brian's mother offered help in odd letter. Obviously, we know the parents were helping him along the way.
Joining us here, wherever you are watching from, whether it's here in Tampa Bay, here in Florida, here in the United States, or perhaps you're joining us from around the world. As I noted, today is Saturday, but Friday was the day that we had massive developments in the Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie story. A big day for news overall. News going on, of course, yesterday being Friday, June 24, 2022. But we're turning our attention again to Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie to discuss more of what transpired in the afternoon and evening, even to the late night hours of yesterday, Friday, June 24th. And of course, this all began with the emergence of the notebook that we have here on the right side of your screen, 8 pages of Brian Laundrie's last words, as confirmed, of course, by the FBI releasing, of course, their words in their release in January, saying that this was the final message that Brian Laundrie left behind to the world, and indicated that he had, of course, claimed responsibility for ending Gabby Petito's life. There's been, of course, a lot of discussion about the notebook. We're going to be focusing a lot on the notebook. We're also going to be talking about what happened after the emergence of these 8 pages in the Petito lawyer, that being Pat Riley, calling in to WFLA Now and discussing and really revealing the existence of a letter that he put, in his words, were odd, a letter that existed between Roberta Laundrie, who allegedly authored this letter and gave to her son, Brian Laundrie. According to Riley, it is a letter that is connected to what happened to Gabby Petito. It is absent of a date, which we will discuss. However, it had a curious title on the envelope that read something to the effect of "Burn after you read this." We're going to talk about all of this over the next hour or so. News Nation's Brian Enton will be joining us in about 15 minutes' time. He's joining us remotely. He will be joining us at 2:30, at which time we will be launching across all platforms. We're live here first on WFLA.com, the WFLA app, and hello to everybody joining us on the WFLA YouTube page. I see Fiona using hashtag HeyJ.
Now, someone in the chat asked, did Dog the Bounty Hunter find Brian Laundrie hiding in the woods? No. From what I know is that they found quote-unquote remains of Brian Laundrie in a search, nothing to do with Dog the Bounty Hunter. Problem is, you could go full conspiracy and say, do we know that it's actually his remains, or is he just out there lurking around? What's up, EBT? Good to see you. Oh, no worries about that. I was just poking fun a little bit. Definitely not my people, though. All good. So, let's, Yes, Corpse, they found his dirty laundry. Don't steal my lines. I was gonna say, let's get into the dirty laundry. If I was like one of those like news shows, that's like what they would headline with. Now, just to start off with, the Gabby Petito family attorney did claim that Brian's mom sent her a letter that said "burn after you read," which is just, when you know your son just killed somebody that you knew as well, it's very odd. Gabby Petito family attorney claims Roberta Laundrie, so her family wanted a son named Robert and named her Roberta. Sent letter to son marked "burn after reading." One of the lawyers representing the parents of Gabby Petito told WFLA.com on Friday that there is more evidence they would like to see released from the Laundrie family. The Laundrie's family attorney, Steve Bertolino, released 8 pages, so there is more, of Brian Laundrie's notebook on Friday that included what appeared to be a confession that he killed his fiancée. Pat Riley, the attorney who represents Gabby, Joseph Petito, and Nicole Schmidt, sent a statement late after expressing shock that the notebook's contents were revealed. However, questioning why more wasn't released. And we'll get to exactly what was in there. Let's see. A lawsuit filed by Petito family claims that Laundries knew about Gabby's murder and were planning to help Brian leave the country. That's based on evidence that they packed him up and gave him supplies and gave him money and gave him the means to get out of the country. Riley has previously alluded to the existence of evidence to back up that claim. Quote, "That's not part of the note, not to my recollection." According to Riley, the letter was found in the Laundrie family's home but was taken out of the van that Gabby and Brian had been traveling the country in. I'm led to believe he received that before he came back to the North Port, but I don't know that for certain. Bertolino confirmed the existence of the letter Friday in a message to WFLA now JB Buano. I do know it's a movie, and what she wrote on the cover of a letter to Brian many months before the trip had the title of the movie on there. A second confession. During an exclusive call, Riley also spoke about the confession and explanation of Gabby's death that was released from Brian Laundrie's notebook on Friday. That's a version, he said. There's another version. I don't have a copy of that yet, but I've been advised there's another version that he authored that we will be getting hopefully through the FOIA request that does not entirely match up this particular version. Is it a typed out note? The guy asked, and he said, to the best of my knowledge, yet. When asked about the confession released Friday from Laundrie's notebook, Riley said he does not believe the story. So you got two, basically, you got two lawyers going back and forth. But we'll get into the contents of the note.
JB, Ellen, or Elaine, I'm sorry, using hashtag HeyJB. And again, for those of you perhaps just joining us for the first time, after Brian kills Gabby in a form of panic, he says, we're going to take him for this exercise. We are going to take this at face value. We're going to take this for what it is and just say that this is what happened to Gabby Petito and what happened with Brian Laundrie. Let's focus on what happened afterwards and the choices that were presented to Brian Laundrie. He has a choice of what to do with Gabby's body. There's the right thing to do, and there's the wrong thing to do. And this is going to be the theme of this. 7 instances. We're going to go over all 7. The right thing and the wrong thing. This is the woman you're supposed to spend the rest of your life with. This is the woman you're supposed to be with. This is the woman you've pledged to commit yourself to. Good, bad, and ugly times exist in relationships, and you are supposed to grit your teeth to get through all of it, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And this, of course, was something that occurred while on this cross-country road trip. But something terrible happens, and Gabby is deceased. Her body is there in the wilderness. Why are you leaving it? Why is it there? Why don't you retrieve the body? Why don't you return it? Why don't you bring it with you? Why do you leave Gabby Petito's body out there in the spot near where this tragic event occurred? Whether you believe it to be an accident or an intentional act, something bad and terrible happened here between these two. Why, if this is the love of your life, you say it even in this note that you write sometime afterwards, you say it in your final 8-page confession, if this is someone you love so much, you love them so much that you can't be without them, why don't you bring her body with you? Why are you leaving it out there? Is the first thing. So Brian has the opportunity to do the right thing or the wrong thing. The right thing is to take the body of the love of your life and do something with it and bring it with you. He does the wrong thing. He leaves it out there. That's number 1. Number 2, Brian, let's say, we're going to talk with Brian Enton about cell signal and maybe your battery being dead. But upon returning to civilization, if you will, you have the opportunity to contact authorities. As our commenter Elizabeth Gregory says, why not call 911? I just saw that flash on my screen because it has the hashtag and I can see them just very clearly here. Brian doesn't contact 911. He doesn't contact authorities. His choice is to leave Gabby's body out there and return home in the van.
And this guy just returned home like everything's cool, Gabby's staying back. And then eventually, you're not going to get it on record, but he told his parents exactly what happened. Most likely, the guy's a sociopath, and he lied and manipulated his way that it was some kind of injury or some reason he had to leave her, and now he's finally coming back, and he didn't have a chance to stop anywhere in between to say anything. The parents knew he was obviously lying, but in the end, they wanted to help him, you know, not go to jail, and they wanted to make sure that he could get away. So before we get into the letter, and trust me, we got the full text of the letter here, so we'll be able to go through that. Plus, we have a couple top medical examiners kind of critique this letter and show you the flaws, not just in the writing, because they're not writing experts, the flaws in his story, how he tries to explain his way of why he did this and how it happened. And they basically just debunk everything. It was just a straight up murder, and he left her out there. Now, Gabby Petito's mother sobs in court as lawyers blast Brian Laundrie's parents, who failed to turn up on the hearing, for taking their son on vacation despite knowing where he dumped their daughter's body. Nicole Schmidt, 41, also toyed nervously with her necklace as she sat with former husband Joseph Petito, 42, the father of Gabby Petito, who was strangled on a van life road trip with Laundrie in Wyoming last summer. The devastated mother and father are suing the parents of Brian Laundrie, alleging they knew that their son had murdered Gabby after he returned to Florida and tried to help him flee authorities. Now, one thing I can say about this family is, yes, the original mother and father split years ago and both have new partners, but every public appearance I've seen them at, they seem to be a tight-knit family. They seem to be a family that really just wants justice for Gabby, and that's all that matters. Any problems they have with each other were set aside. There's no bickering. There's no nothing but just trying to get to the bottom of it. They claim the Laundries are guilty of inflicting intentional emotional distress, basically meaning you knew all along but kept this from us. He said it also wasn't about their callous refusal, despite pleas from the Petito family to speak out about whether or not Gabby was alive, or if she wasn't the location, or if she wasn't at the location of her body. It's about a course of conduct that they committed from when they learned on August 28th that their son had brutally murdered Gabby. Riley said this included the statement that was made by the attorney advising them at the time regarding their wish for a successful end to the search, which they obviously did not partake in. It's about what they did with the information that they had, not just not disclosing what they knew. Basically, not coming forward with any information. So here's Brian Laundrie's dad with the no trespassing signs.
Good morning. Really sorry about everything that happened to you. I really, truly am.
Thank
Man, remember this in the summer, how crazy this thing got? They were just on his street at all times. And then people had wild theories. Now, I'm not one to go after someone's theory, but, I mean, people were claiming that he was living in a makeshift garden in the back. Like, guys, if he was living on the property, the cops were in and out and around that house about, I don't know, 30 million times. I'm pretty sure they would have came across him staying in the house. Targeted individual. Watch out for red cars. Gotta make those a little bigger. Those aren't really legible. Some people could still trespass. Oh, let's see. Is there a chance the whole family may have killed her? No. Um, he killed her and came back home. What's up, not a Jew? Yep, targeted individual for sure. Tribe member, not sure. Never really got into the religion of him. That was one thing they really kept out. I don't want to say anything, but I don't think so. Now, her remains were eventually discovered on September 19th, 2021, in a lonely spot in the Bridger-Teton National Forest in Wyoming. Now, she and her boyfriend actually had lived with his parents in Northport near Florida. The young couple set off on the adventure from New York State, where her mother lives, in early July, heading west. However, on September 1st, Brian arrived back at the Laundrie home on his own in Gabby's van. 10 days later, anxious, Smith reported her daughter missing after last having contact with her on August 25th. And we know the timeline events from that story. They were seen arguing in front of a store. There's also another double murder in the same area, like the same day. No ties to Brian Laundrie on that one. One of the girls that got murdered actually witnessed them arguing. And it just seems like everything kind of blew up in this one event. All the pent up rage that Brian had, that, let's just be honest, Gabby was a little too pretty for him. Gabby was more successful than him. He was the guy in the background in the Instagram videos and the YouTube videos she was making. And looks like he just wanted to snap and take the life out of her. Now, you also got to remember, every time Gabby Petito is shown, they use the monarch butterfly in the background. So just take that for what you will. If you want to completely disregard the story because of that, or just see them inserting that maybe Brian Laundrie could have been some sort of sleeper killer, and they're leaving their mark with the monarch butterfly, but it has to be mentioned. And as I said, you guys know the case. They were actually pulled over after a physical altercation, but all in all, let go from that scene, even though she was obviously in shock and distress. Something more should have been done at that exact moment. But we can show you a little bit about the quote-unquote notebook. Now, Brian Enton does a good job.
Attorney for the Petitos and the Schmitz. I know that we are working the phones, trying to get the very latest information. I have some new developments here. Want to welcome you into the broadcast, welcome you into the live stream, say hello to you as we're about to launch.
And I just want to say what's up to everybody in the chat. Thank you for coming out for a late night stream. I was just I wanted to do like a last minute spooky show before the premiere tomorrow night of the season 2, episode 1 on Brittany Drexel. There's a new song. There's probably going to be a new background. I'm waiting for the artwork. It should show up tomorrow by the time I get home, or at least by the time I stream. It'll look a little different than this. Give a little more room for the screen, enough room for the chat, make myself smaller, and that bottom right corner that's just full of a lot of stuff is going to be condensed down. So just more room for us to put more stuff up on the screen. Um, and maybe a chance of having a double screen. Um, we'll see how that works out. Let's go.
On Facebook Live, but allow me just say hello to you and check in. How you doing out there?
Hey, I'm doing okay. The first thing I noticed was like you've got the suit and tie on a Saturday. I assumed you'd be at home with your cats, and this would be a little more of a casual affair. But you're all dressed up.
You know what, Brian? I thought about going casual. I really did, but maybe
You're
one
such a
day.
tie guy. You're
I,
such a tie guy. You always look so dapper. You have the tie on. It's like you really, you know how to pull that off.
I was talking with somebody last night about how this has just been a terrible 8-9 months. But if there's one thing, it's great to have made a friend in Brian Enton, and getting to know Brian a little bit behind the scenes has been a treat. And folks, the real deal. Brian, we're going to go into a 60-second countdown. Stick around. We'll be right back as we engage our Facebook Live audience here on WFLA Now. Don't go anywhere. People out there that do not believe Brian Laundrie's last words. What do you make of the response from the public? So many people, of course, who have been following you, so many people that have been following the two of us over the course of this, that just don't believe this story to be actually what happened that night in August of last year.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. The first time I read it, through the 8 pages, that was my first thought. I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. This can't be, especially because, like, in my mind, I was going back to the place where Gabby Petito was killed, just because I'd been out there. So I was visualizing it as I was reading the letter, and it just wasn't adding up. The creek there was close to where the van was, maybe a 5-minute walk. Where her body was found, where she was murdered, was maybe a 10-minute walk from the van. It's remote, but it's also right off of this dirt road where there are a ton of campers coming and going. And then right up the dirt road is a pretty major highway. The cell phone service is good there. So this whole theory that there was no one to help, I don't buy it, having been out there. And again, the main reason is because of the proximity to the van, and then also the cell phone service being good. You could have made a call. You could have done something. It doesn't add up to me.
You were there, and of course, I saw the video that you posted again on Twitter. Being in that spot, Brian claims in his 8 pages that he did everything, including making a fire and spooning her and trying to stay by the fire to make sure it wouldn't go out. Do you remember any site whatsoever of a spot where a fire might have existed?
I mean, yeah, there probably were. So it's a popular area for people who are camping and exploring. So there were spots with fires. When I was out there, I called Luis, my photographer, yesterday, because we're not in the same city right now at the moment. I was like, let's just go back to that moment, remind me of everything. I wanted to make sure my recollection was right. We took a lot of time out there because we were trying to find the exact spot where Gabby's body was. And there are a lot of people who have gone out there and put crosses in other spots thinking that it was the spot. So it took us a long time to find the right spot. But what I remembered was going back from that spot to, we were parked right where the van was. And again, I was like, Luis, it was like a 5 to 10 minute walk, right? And he's like, yeah, it definitely.
A little flash of the butterfly.
No more than 10 minutes. So
I mean, as you can see in every picture, they depict some kind of butterfly wings. Not saying she was monarch controlled, but he may have been. So Brian Laundrie's notebook, confession message to Gabby Petito. Alright, so this is a rough transcription of the 8 pages of his notebook, and there is more. They didn't release everything, which was just kind of odd to me, but this is how lawyers play their games. Hey Blanche, good to see you. Jay Math says if my son killed a person, I'd probably help him get away with it if I'm being honest. I think it's one of those things you couldn't know until you were in the situation itself. Um, every situation's different. Every parent's intuition on that and what they would do is different. In this case, I mean, she lived with them. They treated her as a daughter. So very tough for them to, once everything was known, once they knew the cops were going to be closing in on him, to not release any information. Very, very suspect. All right, so from the words and the mouth of, or from the pen of Brian Laundrie. Gabby, I wish I was right at your side. I wish I could be talking to you right now. I'd be going through every memory we made, getting even more excited for the future. But we lost our future. I can't live without you. I've lost every day we could have spent together, every holiday. I'll never get to play, it was ineligible again. Never go hiking with TJ. I loved you more than anything. I can't bear to look at our photos to recall great times because it is why I cannot go on. When I close my eyes, I will think of laughing on the roof of the van, falling asleep to the Silent of the Night at the Crystal Geyser. I will always love you. If you were reading Gabby's journal, looking at photos from our life together, flipping through old cards, you wouldn't want to live a day without her. Knowing that every day you'll wake up without her, you wouldn't want to wake up. I'm sorry to everyone this will affect. Gabby was the love of my life. Notice how it was, everything's past tense. But I know adored by many. I'm so sorry to her family because I love them. I'd consider her younger siblings my best of friends. I'm sure they have a different view of it. I'm sorry to my family. This is a shock to them as well. A terrible grief. We know that is a lie because they knew immediately that of what you did. They loved her as much, if not more than me. A new daughter to my mother, an aunt to my nephews. Please do not make this harder for them. This was an unexpected tragedy, he says. Rushing back to our car, trying to cross the streams before it got too dark to see, too cold, I hear a splash and a scream. I could barely see. I couldn't find her. I shouted her name. I found her breathing heavily, gasping. She was freezing cold. Something from the blazing hot national parks in Utah. The temperature had dropped to freezing and she was soaking wet. I carried her as far as I could from the stream towards the car, stumbling, exhausted, in shock, and knew I couldn't safely carry her. I started a fire and spooned her as close to the heat. She was so thin, had already been freezing too long. I couldn't at the time realize that I should have started a fire first, but I wanted her out of the cold, back to the car. From where I started the fire, I had no idea how far the car might be. I only knew it was across the creek. So he's already putting together this alibi of, hey, she was injured and I just went to go save her and she died. And this is, you can see this is a story he's trying to, we know the matter of death was strangulation. So, I mean, all of this is very much moot points. When I pulled Gabby out of the water, she couldn't tell me what hurt. She had a small bump on her forehead that eventually got larger. Her feet hurt. Her wrist hurt. She was freezing, shaking violently. While carrying her, she continually made sounds of pain. Laying next to her, she said little. lasping between violent shakes. Gasping? Lapsing? I guess you could lapse in and out. Yeah, that makes sense. Lasping between violent shakes, gasping in pain, begging for an end to her pain. Uh-oh. She would fall asleep, and I would shake her awake, fearing she couldn't close her eyes if she had a concussion. She would wake in pain, start her whole painful cycle again. Furious that I was the one waking her, she wouldn't let me try to cross the creek. Thought like me that the fire would go out in her sleep and she'd freeze. I don't know the extent of Gabby's injuries, only that she was in extreme pain. And here we go. I ended her life. I thought it was merciful, that it is what she wanted. But I see now all the mistakes I make. I panicked. I was in shock. From the moment I decided to take away her from pain, I knew I couldn't go on without her. I rushed home to spend any time I had left with my family. I wanted to drive north and let James or TJ kill me, but I wouldn't want them to spend time in jail over my mistake, even though I'm sure they would have liked to. I am ending my life not because of fear of punishment, but rather because I can't stand to live another day without her. I've lost our whole future together. Well, yeah, you killed her. Every moment we could have had. Please do not make life harder for my family. Well, that's out of your control now. I have killed myself by the creek in hopes that animals may tear me apart, that it may make some of her family happy. Please pick up all of my things. Gabby hated people that litter. That line just pisses me off. Please pick up after me because Gabby, the person I killed, hated people who littered. And if this is the full notebook here, 8 pages of it. But you see how he's setting up the story of, I ended her life. This was a merciful kill. Like if you hit a deer on the side of the road and you don't want to see it suffer, so you shoot it in the head. But we know the coroner's findings were that she was strangled to death. So this whole convoluted sociopathic story is just another lie and for more attention on himself. Someone says it is his actual notebook. From what I know, it's her actual notebook. In this world, there are no absolutes sometimes. But from what I can gather, yes, this was the notebook that he wrote, and this sounds like something he would say, trying to deflect blame. Let's see. How did he explain it? I ended her life. I thought it was merciful. That it is what she wanted, but I see now all the mistakes I made. But we can go a little further into that. Let me just pull up a link here. Something a little shorter than the hour video Brian Enton did.
Contents of Brian Laundrie's notebook have been revealed. Here at 10, we've got our first look at what he wrote about the death of his fiancée, Gabby.
Another butterfly.
Bitchute. It's his confession in his own writing, and legal experts say it could become evidence in a current lawsuit against the Laundrie family. Let's bring in Fox 15's Janae Lewis live in our newsroom with a story and what he wrote. Janae, this captured everybody's attention last year. What does this say?
It's still capturing everyone's attention now. You know, since the FBI discovered this notebook last year, there have been a number of questions about what was inside. Agents previously said Laundrie wrote his confession, but now we know why, at least in his words, he did it. Glimpses into his final words. The FBI recovered this notebook last year near the remains of Brian Laundrie in the Carlson Reserve in Sarasota County. And now for the first time, we are seeing what he wrote. Inside, FBI agents say he confessed to the murder of Gabby Petito. In the pages publicly released, Laundrie writes, "I ended her life. I thought it was merciful, that it was what she wanted, but I see now all the mistakes I made." The FBI determined Laundrie killed Petito last year while on a cross-country trip. Her parents in New York reported her missing when they stopped hearing from her, then learned Brian returned home to Florida without her. Searchers found her body in Wyoming, and a coroner said she was strangled to death. Laundrie called her death an unexpected tragedy, saying Petito was hurt while they were at a park in Utah. He said he didn't know the extent of her injuries, but knew that she was in extreme pain, saying, "From the moment I decided, took away her pain, I knew I couldn't go on without her," adding, "I am ending my life, not because of a fear of punishment, but rather because I can't stand to live another day without her. I've lost our whole future together, every moment we could have cherished. I'm sorry for everyone's loss." Forensic experts say extensive testing was likely done to determine the notebook's authenticity.
So one of the things that we can do, because of the water and the weather and everything, there may or may not have been DNA on it, but we can do a handwriting analysis.
The release of Laundrie's notebook comes the same week the parents of Gabby Petito had their first hearing in a lawsuit against Brian Laundrie's parents. They claim that as they desperately searched for their missing daughter, the Laundries already knew what happened and refused to speak to investigators because they were trying to protect their son. Analysts say the contents of his notebook could be a critical piece of evidence in the family's lawsuit.
If there is a date in the notebook, like a lot of people will date a diary or something like that.
The journal reveals a lot about what Brian Laundrie's intent was, and whether or not that crosses over into anything they contribute to his own parents, that's a different story.
Now, Brian's parents want the lawsuit thrown out. The judge says he'll decide in the next 2 weeks whether the case will proceed to a jury trial. If this happens, this will occur sometime in the next year. So, Mark, still a lot more unfolding and developing with this story.
There's so much to
Now, the question of the authenticity, is it his? The only other possibility would be written after the fact to try to mitigate the damage, instead of just letting the facts lay as they are, having a letter where he explains himself as, you know, this merciful guy that was just trying to take her out of her misery, even though that's not his call at the time at all. Very, very odd development in this case. Now you can read the full transcript, and I will leave links for you guys so you guys can do that. Brian Laundrie's notebook confession floats insane mercy-killing claim. He claimed he tried to carry her to the car, but his knees buckled out of exhaustion and shock, so he started a fire. He then claimed Petito wouldn't let him leave. She's so injured she can barely talk, but she got that one out. Laundrie didn't specify how he killed Petito, but injuries claimed she was suffering were inconsistent with Petito's autopsy. So the things he was saying in the note didn't match up with anything in the autopsy. As we know, she was strangled. He claimed he killed himself not because of fear of punishment, but rather because can't stand to live another day. Despite portraying their travels as blissful on YouTube, the couple had gotten into several heated and physical arguments, and Petito's friends later described Brian Laundrie as jealous and controlling. And again, you can read through this whole thing. I give you guys the main parts of it. And that's basically what they're releasing to the press as well. And there are more than these 8 pages. These were just the ones released by the lawyer. Now, some top medical examiners actually came out. And I appreciate however many people are here. I haven't looked yet, but if it's 10, if it's 40, I appreciate anybody that came out to watch this stream. We're still going. I just wanted to, give a special thanks to anybody. It's weird how quick an hour goes by sometimes. If anybody wants to support the show or support the work that we're doing, we have Cash App for now. I am working on a PayPal. I have that in the works right now. But if you wanted to, it's cash.app/$ Truth. Or if you have the mobile app, it's just literally $Crocko Truth. And any donation will be read if there's a message. So thank you to anybody that has or anybody that will. Not a Jew says, I'm glad you did a stream. Thank you. Oh, no problem. I did a stream earlier as well, if you guys missed it. It's on Bitchute, if you guys are looking for it. Medical examiners slam farcical newly unearthed claim from Brian Laundrie in his journal that his murder of Gabby Petito was a mercy killing due to hypothermia. He described her murder in the passage as a mercy killing, saying she fell into a shallow creek and suffered from hypothermia. Petito's death was later ruled a homicide by manual strangulation. Medical examiners... Oh, wow. Let me just show you who they brought in, if this is the guy I'm thinking of. Michael Baden. Yep. So they brought in Michael Baden for this. Not the family, just the experts that were commenting on this. Now, Michael Baden is famous. Like, he had the show Autopsy back in the day. He's just well known for doing high-profile celebrity deaths, usually giving the second opinion. He did testimony in the O.J. Simpson trial. Like, this guy is, like, the guy, the go-to guy for medical examinations. Medical examiners Michael Baden and Cyril Wetch, though, told Fox News that her symptoms were not consistent with hypothermia. They said it is unlikely she was suffering from extreme cold when she died. John Kelly, a criminal profiler, and Jason Jensen, a private investigator, also called Laundrie versions of events farcical. They said Laundrie was a serial abuser who had signs of extreme narcissistic personality disorder, sociopathic disorder, mumbo jumbo. Even if he did kill her out of mercy, they said euthanasia is murder. 2 of America's top medical examiners have called into question Brian Laundrie's newly unearthed claims. In images of 8 waterlogged pages of his notebook handed to the Daily Mail by the Laundrie family's attorney, Steve Bertolino, he admits that he killed his 22-year-old fiancée after she fell into the creek. He claims in the notebook that he battled to comfort Gabby, but she was rapidly deteriorating, crying in pain and shivering from the constant cold. Now, it was obviously ruled a homicide by strangulation, but following the revelations on Friday, the examiners told Fox News that they had doubts about his version of events, Wetch, who had previously been involved in investigations of John F. Kennedy, John Benet Ramsey, noted that while signs of hypothermia are difficult to detect on a corpse, violent shaking like Laundrie described is not a symptom. Hypothermia at the beginning, you're cold as hell, she explained. But then when the hypothermia becomes significant, you don't shiver, you don't move. In fact, in surgery, that's why they bring patients down to a hypothermic state. Baden, who previously served as New York City's medical examiner, was involved into the investigation of Jeffrey Epstein, said that while Petito's autopsy did show some signs of hemorrhaging as a result of hypothermia, it remains unlikely she was suffering from the condition. In general, hypothermia does not cause injuries that are easily found on an autopsy, he explained. There is some information that there can be a small hemorrhage in the stomach in the very severe cold depths, but that's in the weeds. John Kelly, a criminal profiler, private investigator, said also this was a false statement by Laundrie, and even if he did kill Petito out of mercy, that's not his call, and euthanasia is not legal in any state, anywhere. It's still considered murder. So, no matter where he turns, it's a murder. He wanted to serve it up as a mercy killing. That's the thing that's bugging me more than anything, Kelly said. He found her breathing heavily and gasping for breath, so he decided to choke her out. That makes sense, huh? He continued to say that it made no sense that he would strangle Petito on the spot rather than drag her back to the van to get some help. I don't believe in all this accident stuff, because how can you say you love somebody so much you can't go on without her, you love her so much, you're willing to commit suicide like Romeo and Juliet, but she's hurt and you won't go to get help for her? And not only will you not go the extra mile, he said, you will not even report her missing. Laundrie had been the main suspect in the disappearance and murder after he arrived back home. And they go on further and further to talk about the case. And again, more butterfly imagery. Del Griffith, I couldn't put it better myself. What a pussy. He's one of these guys, though. If he can't have her, no one can have her, and he saw that she had it. She had the. I mean, you can have everything and not be successful, whatever your definition of success is on social media. But she had an impact on followers, and he was the guy in the background, and he slowly got more jealous and jealous and jealous. And this story that he made up was just... It's not believable by any stretch of the imagination. Now, I did come across this article before I give you too much information and keep you guys here forever. I thought a good hour stream on this would be perfect, to be honest with you. But we'll go a little bit longer. Notebook update. The journal may be only one of 3 confessions over Gabby's murder. Laundrie detailed his final moments with Gabby in his infamous journal, which he may told one of 3 confessions he left behind. Patrick Riley, a lawyer for Petito's parents, told Brian Enton that the notebook is not the only confession Brian left. He told me today that there was a second confession on a digital device and possibly a third in written form. Riley says he has not seen those confessions yet, but the FBI told him they are somewhat different from the confession in the notebook that we've seen. So we have the possibility of 3 separate confessions, and I can tell you just from my minimal YouTube detective skills, when you change your story 3 times, everyone knows you're lying. Every investigator in the room knows you're lying. And I think the last thing I had, and I'm going to play more from this thing on your screen of Brian Enton. I don't like JB Buono. I don't like him, but I do like Brian Enton. He's the guy on the right with the gray hair. This other guy, don't like him. But I'm pretty sure they're making a Gabby Petito movie. And snaps from that film have been released as Laundrie's notebook reveals murder confession. Stills from an upcoming Lifetime film based on the tragic death of Gabby Petito have been released, just as the FBI confirms boyfriend Brian Laundrie confessed to the killing of the aspiring social media star. No, it's gonna be bad if it's a Lifetime movie.
It's obvious to me that you every single day you're fucking in your phone. Okay. No, you want fine. You want to stay here? How about you fucking stay on your phone then? Damn day, I can't fuck. Damn day, I can't fucking. Damn day, I can't fucking. Damn day, I can't fucking. Damn day, I can't fucking.
Just waiting for the embedded video to try to load itself there.
Damn day, I can't fucking.
Oh, you know the acting in a Lifetime movie is just gonna be top notch.
Damn day, I can't fucking.
So I guess these would be the actors playing Brian Laundrie and Gabby Petito. Let me try to get this full screen here.
It's obvious.
Not really dead ringers. No pun intended. Many have taken issue with Lifetime's decision to move forward with the project about Petito's death so quickly, as she was killed by Laundrie just last fall. And to think it's modern technology. Is it playing in the background? It's showing desktop audio, but I don't hear anything playing. I'll try to give it one more shot here. But you have to remember, it's modern technology that actually narrowed it down to this area. A passing motorist cam on their car, front-facing camera, literally caught a split-second glimpse of their white van and were able to track down the plate number from that. So if they weren't passing by at that exact moment, they would have never known the exact location of where to start their investigation, which is just crazy. That's how quick modern technology can be used in cases like this. Yeah, I couldn't hear it in my headphones, Exigent. I just saw that it was playing on my audio. But yeah, I wasn't trying to make you guys hear that. But you can smash your phone if you'd like to. I apologize. Someone says Michael Baden, born in the Bronx to a Jewish family, testified in the OJ trial, testified in the Epstein, quote unquote suicide. But this isn't him testifying. This is him coming in to give an interview to an article. Now, if it comes to him testifying, I'll have a different opinion on Michael Baden. And I've made videos in the past on him.
The building a fire and being in the middle of nowhere. It just, granted, we were there in the daylight. I'm sure it's really dark at night. But it's just not that big of an area, honestly, from where the van was to where they were. And that's just what I kept thinking. Like,
not as vast and intimidating as it's been made out to be.
It's not like they went on this hour or 2 hour hike into the middle of nowhere, far from the van. I mean, it was all really right there.
I want to talk to, if you were joining, for the folks on YouTube, you saw this part. I was going off about all the different moments in time where Brian had an opportunity to do the right thing. And in the aftermath of this, choosing to do the wrong thing, even if something tragic had occurred with he and Gabby, all of these moments where he could have done the right thing, including not leaving her body out there, not leaving the body of his fiance out there just to be, he mentioned at the end of his note to be torn apart by animals. How could you want that for the love of your life, your fiance? So he leaves the body out there. He doesn't contact authorities. He deceives law enforcement by sending this text message from Gabby's phone to Gabby's family, in particular to her mom, Nicole Schmidt. All of these chances in the aftermath of this to do the right thing. And at every stage, as we just illustrated on YouTube, all of these moments, he chooses to do what most I would believe would say is the wrong thing. What do you make of the actions and all the chances, Brian, that Laundrie had to do something such as turn himself in or have conversations about the tragic accident that allegedly occurred, and tell that to Gabby's family? All of these chances were just came and went, and he did not do the right thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Last night on Banfield, we had a psychotherapist on to kind of dissect the letter, and her take on it was, that he was trying to get away. It seems like he was trying to get away with it in the beginning. I mean, sending the text messages, using the debit card, coming back to Florida, meeting with the family, and it seems like in the letter he was sort of concocting the story to get some sympathy. Like you said, he had a lot of chances to do the right thing. And it seems like he was trying to deceive people, see if he could get away with it. That's what she was saying. And then when he realized he wasn't going to be able to anymore, it's like, let's concoct this story where, I can try to protect my parents and maybe get some sympathy out of this whole thing.
Like a true narcissist. So I wanted to bring you that story of the Brian Laundrie Gabby Petito case and the latest update with the notebook. Hope you guys enjoyed hanging out for a little bit. And I will show you tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be talking about Brittany Drexel. Now, I chose this as the first episode of season 2. And I believe we're going to do this on the YouTube Spooky Sunday season 2 channel. So if you're not subbed to that yet, please go to the About section and, sub to that channel. It'd be helpful. I can pull it up for you guys and put it in the chat if you guys want. Just stick around for a second, though, because I want to tell you about why I chose the Brittany Drexel case and why it means something to me to start the season with it. gathering a few links here. Season 2, it should pop up. Hopefully it pops up. And I'll give you guys the link to this channel. So it has a few videos up there already. So let me give you this link. Or not. Hey, what's up, Obese? So there's a link to the Spooky Sunday channel. I'm gonna have to delete this other one. I just want to make sure I have the right one, because I had to make a couple just in case they took one of them down. But I want to make sure I have the right one here. Yeah, it's definitely the one that says Season 2. So make sure you subscribe to that link, and you'll get and set the notifications. There's not a lot of subs, so just be wary that there's not gonna be. We'll probably multi-stream. We'll put it for the first couple weeks. We'll do it on the Spooky channel and D Live, just so everybody can get antiquated with it. But I want to keep it strictly on YouTube, because the last channel, Season 1, did pretty well. That I want it to be a YouTube channel where everybody's coming to watch. But why I chose Brittany Drexel, guys, she was from my area, Rochester, New York. I live outside of Rochester, but at the time when she disappeared, I lived in the city of Rochester. The disappearance of Brittany Drexel was a 17-year-old spring breaker who vanished while partying in Myrtle Beach. Even though her parents forbade her to go on the trip, Brittany Drexel went anyways. 3 days later, she vanished outside her friend's hotel. The maddening disappearance of 17-year-old Drexel in 2009 left her family, friends, and investigators in shock. In April of that year, the Rochester native had secretly left New York for a spring break trip to Myrtle Beach, where she vanished. A cheerful teen who excelled at soccer, Drexel had reportedly grown increasingly depressed in the leading months up to her disappearance at home with 2 parents embroiled in a divorce. Drexel was eager to get out of the house. And this is Brittany Drexel. And actually, you can see these stunning blue eyes. She grew up with a disorder, and she actually had to wear contacts to help mitigate this, just to help mitigate that. Because everyone comments like, wow, she has these really crazy, stunning blue eyes, but there is actually a medical condition behind it. Though her parents permitted her to spring break at Lake Ontario with a friend, she instead drove to Myrtle Beach. In a macabre turn of events, Drexel vanished outside her friend's hotel on April 25th. And then now we have more updates on the case, which I'm not going to get into, but this is the last known photo that they've shown publicly. Surveillance footage entering a Blue Water resort on April 25th. And it's from there when she walked outside, she walked out of everybody's life. So this is definitely a case that I'm invested in. I've met the parents. I've been to 2 or 3 memorial services that they've held for her. And just recently, when there was some closure to this case, I went to a memorial at the father's house. So it's definitely a case that I invested some time in. And I hope you guys find the story interesting, sad, and just... I just think of the mother getting that call. I mean, really just, like, think about that for a second. That you allow her to go sleep over at a friend's house and go have this spring break in New York, and you found out 3 days later that no, she actually snuck off to Myrtle Beach and now she's missing forever. So one more time, I'm going to give you the link to the channel. I'm going to put this in the chat. Spooky Sunday Season 2. So please click on this channel and sub to this channel. It'll be in every about section. It'll be in every description going forward, so we can push that channel. I appreciate everybody that came to hang out. If you missed the beginning and you missed the new theme, I'll play that as we do the outro. I gotta take my ass to bed. I gotta be up at 5 in the morning. But I'll be home in the afternoon to do a quick, maybe hour and a half stream, just a Crocko show. And then at 10 p.m. Eastern tomorrow night, we're going to be doing episode 1 of Spooky Sunday. And if you come across Irrational Times, give them a shout out for the jingle, and I'll let you guys know tomorrow who did the new art, and we'll give them praise too. So thanks guys for hanging out. I really appreciate it. And if you want to support the work I'm doing, download the Cash App, and it's just $Crocko Truth. Any amount you send, you can write a message, and I'll read that message on stream and give you a personal thank you, and it's much appreciated. So hopefully see you guys tomorrow night, but until then, enjoy your night, and as always, I will see you in the next one. Love you guys. Talk to you later.